Welcome to episode 10 of Raise the Floor. We've got HAZAAR CEO and founder Harriet Noy with us today. Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. Before we get into what the business is, I was kind of doing a bit of research last night, and your kind of entrepreneurship journey started in Birmingham Uni. Do you want to give us a bit of background about how you started and what that looked like?
Yeah. So when I was in my second year at the University of Birmingham, I noticed that a lot of my mates were always Amazon priming fancy dress costumes. And I thought that actually if students could buy and sell from each other, they would save a lot of money and it'd be better for sustainability. So I created the concept of campus-based marketplaces. So it was all about just students buying and selling within their campus, no postage, just find what you want, meet up on campus. So launched it originally on Facebook with no clue of it being a business, literally just like, me and my friends want this. And then within a month or so, there was about 4,000 students using it. And at the time I was studying economics, all my mates were applying to grad schemes, and I was thinking the last thing I want to do is finance. And I'd always been a lot more interested in kind of an entrepreneurial route. So I just spoke to I went on LinkedIn, spoke to as many tech, Googled on LinkedIn went tech entrepreneur, got on as many calls as possible with people and said look, I've got this thing, I've done it here in Birmingham, I think it could be a business, do you have any advice for me? And what people told me to do was to try and test out if it was just something that would work in Birmingham or if it would actually work kind of all over the UK. So my kind of first step was I created an Instagram and just said, this is what we've done in Birmingham. If you want to take it to your university, then get in touch. And then we ended up with about 30 students getting in touch all around the UK. And then we launched all these pages at 30 different universities. Wow. And that was kind of, that was kind of when I thought, this could actually be a business. And it's kind of evolved from there.
And what were you thinking at that time when you set up, when you thought this could be a business? Because being in uni, I guess it's a lot of work to set up a business while being at uni. Yeah. Was it kind of just always testing the water, or? Yeah,
I was just so naive. At the time, it was when Depop and Vinted were really, really blowing up. And the whole thing of campus marketplaces, anyone I told, everyone thought it was the most incredible idea ever. All of my friends were like, oh my God, it's going to be the next big thing. Everyone I told about it to, they were like, oh my God, it's going to be incredible. So I just thought, how hard can it be? I've got this amazing idea that everyone thinks is next level. I'll just launch it, it will be absolutely fine. And obviously, little did I know that that's not how it works.
Yeah. I think you need that naivety though to be daft enough to do it, I guess, like that. So honestly, it was the same.
Yeah, no clue.
And how was it speaking to how many people did you message? What was the response like of asking for advice?
The response was really good. So the first step that I did was I spoke to a lot of my friends at university and was like, what do your parents do? What do your parents do?
Right.
And if any of my friends said that their parents had a business, I was like, do you reckon they'd be happy to have a little chat with me? So that was really a good way. And actually 2 of my friends' parents still help me to this day.
Amazing.
And that was really good because I trusted them. And I think what I really focused on was making sure that the people I got advice from had actually been there, done that and made it as well.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people out there who want to give you advice, but then maybe they're in the trenches themselves, and they're good to have as allies and peers.
Yeah.
But actually, for advice, they haven't get advice from someone who is where you want to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so, how was that? Just messaging people on LinkedIn, then following up with calls? How many?
Yeah. I'd probably say I had about 30 plus calls. And then during COVID, I remember my mum, she was a nurse and she'd come home from work and she'd be like, what have you been doing all day? And I'd say, I've been on these calls. And she's like, can you stop having these bloody calls and just crack on with it? And I was like, no, Mum, I'm trying to learn. I need to figure out what to do. I just reached out to so many people on LinkedIn.
And what did you learn doing that? Because that kind of looks like it was a prep for investment calls.
Yeah. I suppose I just was more, had this idea and was just trying to get advice from how to launch it. How should I build the tech? Should I build a mobile app? Should I build a website? How should I fund it? Marketing ideas. Basically.
And what did that look like once you got all that advice and you kind of had a bit of a plan?
I decided that the route I wanted to go down was to build an app.
Right.
And I got a quote for £10,000. So I thought if I have £10,000 for an app and then £10,000 for my marketing budget, that will give me what I need to get going. So then I was like, okay, well, how the hell do I get £20,000? And then Dan, who's one of my advisors, he said to me, if you can't raise £20,000, it's probably a shit idea and you should just give up with it. He literally said that. And I was like, oh, God, like, okay, fair enough. So then went onto LinkedIn, just constantly messaging people. So I've got this idea, would you have a chat with me? And then there was a guy that I'd done work experience for, like, when I was in school. And I nearly didn't send him the message, but I thought, you know what, I'll just nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And then he replied and said, pitch it to me and my wife next week, and then we'll go from there. And long story short, him and his wife ended up investing £20,000 to kind of get it off the ground.
And how did that look from setting a business up? Did you have to speak to people about like what that looks like, what equity they own? Or
Yeah. So Dan supported me through the whole process of setting the business up. And he taught me at very early doors that protect equity with your life. Because I had a lot of people in the early days who were like, oh, I can help you out. Like,
just give me 50%.
Yeah. Like, I can do this for you. And like people that liked the idea and then probably maybe their business wasn't quite working out. And they were like, oh, God, I can help you with yours. So he was really protected me, I'd say, through the early days in terms of setting up the business properly, accounting, how it should all work in terms of equity structure.
And how was that? I guess that's quite a challenge, right? When you're in it and you're trying to get investment, it's someone offers you investment but they want equity. Was that a difficult decision to kind of turn people down when they wanted equity? Or
originally I was like, oh yeah, that they could. I was so naive that if someone said that they had their own business, I wouldn't even ask them how the business was doing. I just thought, bloody hell, like they must be doing incredibly. Like so I think to start with I was super naive and I probably considered so many equity options, but then that was where it was great having an advisor like Dan who just said to me, no, don't do that. Just tell them, like, maybe in the future, like, let's start working together first. Like, he really taught me, about protecting equity.
And how did you find Dan?
So he was my mate's dad.
Right.
Yeah, so he was also, so I think that helped because it was like a really trusted person.
Yeah.
My friend at uni, the way it's quite funny, the way I realised that his family was quite successful was he had some Gucci sliders on. And I was like, why have you got fake Gucci sliders? And he was like, they're not fake. I was like, fucking hell.
Your dad, I need to meet him. Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, what does your dad, like, what do your parents do then? And he introduced me to his dad. And I think that helped a lot because just a trusted person, someone who, and I think because he had been so successful, knowing that he wasn't helping me out of self-interest. It was more about like having advisors who are helping you because maybe what they get out of it is like satisfaction and they want to help someone rather than, oh yeah, one day I can get something.
And how was that? Did you know that straight away from speaking to him that you could trust him and there was like no ulterior motive in terms of what he wanted out of it?
Yeah. Because there was another person that I spoke to who was like a family friend, and they were like, oh, I can help you launch this business, and made me a proposal about how they would get 60% of the business and that I'd get the rest. And I remember saying it to my dad, and my dad was like, oh, you might as well go for it. Like, you know, that phrase where it's like 30% of nothing. What's that phrase?
A small percent of something is better than a large percent of nothing.
Yeah, I know. And so my dad really thought I should go for it. And I was like, no, Dad, like, what are you on about? So I think it's also, you have that thing, don't you, with your parents. I mean, my parents are amazing. Like so my dad's had a really successful business. My mum is so emotionally intelligent, and like she's taught me so much about that's made me do well, I think. But their view on business is very much more a more traditional view on business. Like you spend what you earn and kind of thing. So sometimes my approach to things and the type of business I'm trying to build is different to their business, like their experience. So there's been some kind of not misunderstandings, but like, well, they don't get what I'm going on about, basically.
And how's that like manifested itself? Has that been disagreements or? No,
I think just potentially a lot of them saying, oh, I told you so. Oh, Harriet, I told you that. Like, why do you do that? Like last night, my mum got a kind of challenge at the moment in the business that I probably can't really speak about. But I I rang my mum and told her how I was going to sort it out, and she said, "Oh, why did you just don't listen to me and your dad? We told you shouldn't have done that 3 months ago." And I was like, "Yeah, but like I thought that was the right thing to do, and yeah, it's a mistake, but it's only 3 months."
And I think, I guess like new businesses are so different to traditional businesses in terms of like raising funds and like old school ways, like just organic growth and bootstrap it. It's not how modern businesses necessarily need to work. Has that been a challenge to kind of explaining that to mum and dad?
But it definitely has. But I also think that it felt like a few years ago there was a move too far away from traditional business models where everyone's just trying to raise money and throw money at problems. Yeah. And I think there's so much that we can learn from just traditional.
100%.
Like, obviously bootstrapping. I think if I was starting a new business again, I wouldn't raise investment until I had product market fit, and then the investment was then to scale something that I know works. Yeah. Whereas I think in the early days of my business, I was raising investment, almost focusing on investment rather than getting to a model that actually works, that generates income. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to learn from just traditional ways of doing business.
What would your biggest lesson be if you went back now that you change?
Just keep focusing on a model. Just keep working until you find a model that actually works. Because we've pivoted the model 3 times. Right. Which I suppose is completely normal. But I think it's taken me... So I started the business 5 years ago, and we just made our recent pivot a month ago. And then this new model that we've kind of launched into, I feel like is the one. But it's taken us a long time to get there. So I wonder like what I could have done to make that process quicker.
Or maybe not. Maybe you needed to go through that to know you needed to pivot. Yeah. I think those lessons like are the most important. Like the mistakes I made for the first 7 years, I would say, I would never do again, but I think that you need to make them. You need to make them to learn to know not to do it. Whereas that's the thing about advice. I think if you're strong-minded, it's sometimes difficult to take advice on. Yeah. Have you found that at all in when you've been in business? I would say the opposite, in the sense where sometimes I've lacked confidence and taken people's advice as like, oh my God, that's what they said I should do, so I should do it. So I think over time I've learned to kind of contextualize the advice and think if you only chat to someone once every 2 months and then you chat to them and then they give you advice, they don't have all the context that you have. So try and think about where their advice is coming from. Yeah. Because I think, in the past, I remember my team actually, we did like a 360 feedback thing, and they said to me that they felt like I sometimes would just kind of go with the wind a little bit in terms of my decision making. Oh, I just came off this call, they said this, like we should look at that. Yeah. And then I didn't really have my own opinions. So I think was probably down to like a lack of confidence and lack of experience part, which in like building over time. How have you found that, building that confidence?
I feel like it's a journey, isn't it? Like you go through phases where you're like, oh yeah, I'm so good at this. And you go through phases where you're like, fucking hell, I'm terrible. Like, I shouldn't.
Don't think that ever changes, by the way.
Yeah, really. So I'd say constant journey. Yeah. But I suppose like just like it only gets better through action, doesn't it? Yeah. Like it's like how you can get rid of anxiety through just doing the thing. So I think for me, like for example, with this new model that we've pivoted to, it involves us working with brands, basically helping them unlock the student market by selling their excess stock to students. So now all of a sudden I'm pitching to brands about how we can help them with student acquisition. That's not an area that I knew much about. So when we were originally going into pitches, I was absolutely shitting myself because I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about. So then other people in the team, I would get them to do more of the pitches. Right. And then, but you know how people say like the founder should always be the salesperson to start with. So then I think I lost a lot of my confidence because I wasn't the one selling it. And then that just got worse and worse and worse, more disconnected I got from it. And then it wasn't until a few weeks ago where I had a chat with my mum. My mum is like so funny. She's such a savage, and she was like, "What the hell have you been doing? Like, you completely lost your way. You need to get back in these sales pitches. Like, what?" Like, she's like, and then ever since then, now I'm just completely back in sales, and my confidence, because I can feel the value I'm delivering to the business. Yeah. And I'm constantly in these meetings where I get more confidence, more validation on what we're doing. Yeah. Then that feels like that's where the confidence is coming from.
Yeah. And what was just going back to what the actual first business was, do you want to give us a bit of background on what it started as?
Yeah. So it started off, the first business model we ever launched was taking a commission from sales. So we made an app and just taking commission from sales. The reason we did that was because that's what obviously other marketplaces do.
Yeah.
I quickly realised that that commission would take so long to build up into an actual revenue model that was sustainable, and we'd need a lot of investment to pump into that. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. And then I thought, because I had had a plastic-free society when I was at uni, so I knew that my university was trying to be more sustainable. So I was like, actually, if I make an app and I add a carbon reporting element to it, I can probably get universities to pay a software as a service fee to get their students, like let them have access. So we launched that, and we got 10 universities signed up in our first year to this software as a service thing, which was really good. It generated like over 100,000 for us in that first year. So I was like, oh, brilliant. Really thought like we'd have 10, and then the next year we'd probably have like 35 unis signed up.
Yeah.
And then things started to not, the future started not looking super bright with that model. The reason being, universities' budgets started to dry up. I don't know if you've seen in the news about like unis are in such a bad financial position. So all of our deals started to fall over.
Right.
And also, our biggest challenge was the stock of the marketplace. We just didn't have good quality stock. So we'd meet a student, we'd be like, oh, this is like a Depop, but for students.
Yeah.
They'd go onto the site and there'd be nothing on there because we were relying on students to be the buyers and the sellers. So that was another challenge. And then as we were trying to overcome that, we got approached by two brands, one big brand in the homeware space, one in the fashion space, who said, like, we've got loads of excess stock. We want to unlock the student market. Can we sell to students through your platform? And you can imagine all of a sudden I'm like experiencing all these challenges here. Our biggest business challenge is supply. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, like this.
And they came to you as well. You didn't have to pitch
exactly.
it.
And I knew nothing about excess stock. I hadn't thought too much about the value of the student audience.
Yeah.
Just all of a sudden, the direction of travel became quite clear. So the new model now is that HAZAAR is available to all students in the UK, and we partner with brands, helping them sell their excess stock to students at discounted prices.
And how's that work? How does that deal work for you with a brand?
Yeah, so it's all like drop shipping. So we don't hold any product. We just take a cut of all the sales, basically.
Yeah.
So we handpick all the brands that come on, because obviously we need to make sure that it's brands that students are going to love. So we go to those brands, we say, look, we've got this many students, like your brand is one of the most popular, like most searched for brands. And then we create a partnership with them. We work with them on putting a collection together. So it's not like a TK Maxx for students. It's a lot more curated. It's often about 40% discount for students.
Wow.
And then we market that to the audience in collaboration with the brand.
And can you go back to that first conversation with that first brand, and what did it feel like when you kind of, I guess it was like a light bulb moment. Like, what was that like?
I feel like the first brand that ever approached us at the time, we didn't even entertain it at the time.
Right.
Like, because I was just like, oh, and then it wasn't until these challenges were then coming in that then, you know, when you then remember that conversation, like from months ago.
Yeah,
like, shit. Oh. And then got back in touch with them, and then we just did a lot of research about it. We went and interviewed students on Birmingham campus, like 500 students, and they said the main thing missing from our marketplace was branded products. So it was just, we went and met with the brand director at ASOS, a guy called James, who's helped us out loads. He knows loads about brands, excess stock, and he was like, that you're really on, this is really going to solve a market problem. So I think we knew we were onto something, but I wouldn't say, I didn't feel super buzzing about it straight away.
Right.
Because obviously I had this other model.
Yeah.
And I was figuring out how to bring the new model in and phase the old one out. Should I phase it out? Like, it was just a bit like, I felt a bit scared, I suppose, of
letting something go. Did you feel like you were like letting go of something that you was...
Yeah, and I just didn't know how to do it. Like, we had all these contracts with universities, and I was like, how does that work? If we move to this new model, we want for our new model to work, it needs to be available to all students in the UK. But then we've got these contracts with universities that mean that it's only their students that get access to HAZAAR.
Yeah.
So then it was just figuring out how to deal with that change.
And what was the process of that like when you was faced with that problem? How did you go about solving it?
Well, so it was last Christmas, and we had like a team meeting, just like an old team day strategy thing. And the team was saying that we should, really should be moving on to this new model fully. And I spoke to so many people about it, a lot of people in the university space, and a lot of them were like, oh, I'm not sure, like the unis are going to be quite picky about the brands that you work with, like you can't just work with any brand. So then the team was saying, okay, they think we should completely stop the university model. That was the team's opinion, and then move to this new model. And I almost remember being quite annoyed, because I was like, how do you guys think you're going to get paid then? Like, because that was our income.
Yeah.
And it's a really significant part of our income. So then when everyone was saying we just should move to this new model, I was thinking,
how am I going to pay you all?
Yeah, like, sounds great, guys, but like, that's not possible. So I think it took me a while to think about how they could work side by side, and to get my head around, like the financial side of things and how it would all work.
You studied economics, so I guess you're pretty clued up on finance anyway, but how difficult was that, making those financial decisions? And I guess you're not just, there's longevity in what the impact of that decision is going to be. How did you find that at the time?
So I was actually pretty shit at economics.
Right. Failed.
Yeah, didn't actually fail. Yeah. I got a 2-1, but I was pretty shit.
No.
So actually finance, I'm not very good at. We, I suppose, just kind of mapped it out and realised that we would need to get more funding, really. Because with our previous model, we were on track to be break even. But what we started to realise was that, like, we'd be break even, and then it would just go kind of thing. Sorry if that goes funny on the mic.
That's fine.
Like, it was just not going to work. So like, so we needed to move away from that anyway. It gave us a bit of security, but it wasn't going to work. So then this was almost like starting a brand new business, which was really difficult because obviously when you've been going for 5 years, you're saying, this is what we're doing now. And people are going, what, you've been going 5 years? And that's where you are now. And you're like, yeah. Like, so I do think if we were just starting a brand new business, probably would have found it easier to, like, this is what we're doing, guys, get a lot of hype behind it, get investment. Yeah. It was quite hard to get investment, and we're still doing an investment raise at the moment. And that's been quite challenging, I think, because of the history of the business.
What do you feel that doesn't give you credit, or you lose credibility because of how? I
don't know, because in a way, like, the big part of when we sell to brands and we sell to investors, it is about the fact that we did this campus marketplace, brands were approaching us, and then we've moved to this new model. We've got an engaged student audience. We've got trust in the student space. So it is all part of what gives us credibility. Yeah. And it's what gets people interested, because it's not just come out of nowhere. But I do think from an investment perspective, because I suppose if you think about it, I've raised quite a bit of investment for the other model. So actually we've got all these investors from the other model. It's probably just not as appealing to a brand new. Yeah, I don't know. I think it makes an interesting story and shows that you can adapt pretty quickly. Yeah. Did you have to convince the original investors that is there still that dialogue there, or is it that not part of it? Yeah, I just kept everyone in the loop. All of our investors are like angel investors, so everyone I speak to fairly regularly, but it's also quite chilled in the sense that they trust me to make the right decision for the business. So I kept everyone in the loop of, and we didn't just like all of a sudden dive into this new model. We did testing and trialing with it, which was super successful, which then led us to moving to the new model. And I think everyone had seen the challenges we were experiencing for years. So I think people seemed pretty excited about the change. And having investors, was that, you kind of said that it was friends and family at first, or people within your network. How difficult is that when times get tough? Yeah. So I think the thing, when people talk about friends and family for investors, I think that can be really annoying, because if you don't have friends and family that can put money in, it's just like, well, great. Like, I can't do it then. Yeah. So for HAZAAR in the early days, so I mentioned we got 20 grand from the guy that I'd done work experience for. And then the other bit of funding I got was through my university asked me to do some pitching to some alumni for like a scholarship they were trying to get some sponsorship for.
Yeah.
And off the back of that, a lot of the alumni from my university ended up investing in HAZAAR. A lot of the people I've got as investors are people that I just found on LinkedIn. So I would just search on Google like the top highest income businesses in the UK. You get a list, and then I'd search chairman of that business and then message them and say, I've got this business, I'd love to chat. So actually a lot of our investors aren't actually family and friends.
Yeah.
They're actually people who have taken a punt on us in different industries. And I do think that at times, when maybe times when you're feeling a bit like unconfident and like, oh, what, I'm not right to be doing this business or whatever, I did used to take confidence sometimes in the fact that all these random people, like we've got 14 angel investors, all believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I remember like on dark times when you're like, oh, fucking hell, you're kind of looking for anything, I would kind of take a bit of confidence
100%.
from that. Yeah.
And what's the hardest thing about pitching to investors?
Well, just everyone has their own opinion, really. So, and everyone has their own outlook on things. So you can't please everyone. So, for example, I got some feedback from an investor recently who said that one of the reasons they weren't going to invest is because when I was asked like what we would do when a student graduates, so basically with our model, it's available to 16 to 25-year-olds. So it's a big pool of people. Yeah. And I got asked, well, what happens when they're over 25? And I said, to be honest, we're serving that younger audience. The whole reason brands work with us is because they only want those discounts to be to the younger customer.
Yeah.
So I don't have any plans to branch beyond that. We'll just go deeper in that market. We'll go globally with that market. And that she wasn't happy with that answer, basically, because they wanted me to say, oh, well, HAZAAR for the workplaces and whatever.
Yeah.
But then someone else would criticise you for them not being focused enough.
Yeah.
So I think what I mean by that is just you can't please everyone. So you just have to find the right partners who believe in kind of align with you. So just, and actually I'd say the hardest part actually of investment that I find at the moment is, so we've just launched this new model a month ago. So you can imagine the actual business is so busy at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of the sales pitches, working with the marketing team, like so much going on. And then I'm also doing investment, and people say investment should be a full-time job, which it can be. And I'd say I probably only spend like 20% of my time on investment just because you've got shit to do.
Yeah.
And actually, if you then said to an investor, like, oh yeah, like I'm just doing the raise for a bit, and then you take your eye off the ball, I don't know, like you're running a business, investment is just a part of it, like getting finance.
Yeah.
So I think it's balancing everything.
How'd you do that?
Well, the way that I've tried to do that is by making sure that everyone I approach about investment creates an opportunity, not just from an investment perspective. Yeah. So making sure that I'm approaching like retail experts so that even if they're not going to invest, they will have contacts in the brand space. So just making sure that every conversation is more than just an
has a bigger impact.
Objective. Yeah.
And what? So you've got a business now. You've changed your model. What's the long-term goal for the business? Where do you see it going?
So when you look at the student discount space, at the moment there's uni days and student beans, and what they do is offer discount codes off full price products. Both of them uni days have like 96% of students in the UK signed up to their platform. So for us, we see that brands, like when they use the discount codes, they have to, that kind of eats at their full price margin. They get discounts off full price product. Whereas so many brands are sat on so much excess. Yeah. So it makes so much more commercial sense for brands to use their excess stock to unlock that audience. So we just want to be the biggest player in the student space, really.
What is that space? What's the size of that market?
So with just students and 3 years of graduates, there's 5.6 million people. We do want to expand. You know, like when you get a rail card, it's like 16 to 25-year-olds. I do want to make it in the future so it's 16 to 25-year-olds, because I think actually when you're up to 25, you're pretty broke.
Yeah, you're still a student.
Yeah, you're probably
paying your
worse
overdraft
off.
off.
Like living in a city, paying a more expensive rent. So I think the long-term goal is to be, like we say, like we want to be the biggest influencer in the student space. So any brand, if they want to improve their positioning to students, or if maybe they've lost their way a little bit and their key focus is we want to get into a younger customer, HAZAAR is the most desirable option for them to achieve that. I do also so the model that we have with universities where students buy and sell from each other, our goal is to make that, bring that back and make it national in like a couple of years. So then it would not just be a student marketplace, it would also be like a big student circular economy. So if a student buys an O-Poly dress from O-Poly, let's say, and then 2 weeks later they don't want it anymore, they can then resell that to another student on campus. So making sure that we are dealing with it is like a real circular student marketplace.
And what was it about that circular economy that interested you in this model?
I think sustainability just really interested me. My cousin Beth, she's got a company called Plastic Freedom. So I used to go and like help her out in summers sometimes, and I think her way of life in terms of limiting plastic, I just was like, actually, it just makes so much sense. There's so much waste. And then when I was at uni, I lived with a girl called Sarah, who was again like super into sustainability. So I think I just got me more thinking like that, and actually living a more circular life saves you money anyway. So for us, it's like, how can we make the most sustainable option for students, the cheapest, the easiest, the coolest? So like we don't actually really lead with sustainability in our messaging at all. It's just that it just so happens
it's a benefit as well.
Yeah, it just so happens that it will be also the most sustainable way to shop.
And how is on the student side? That's not your initial sell. How interested are businesses in the sustainability of it, or is that a secondary for them as well? Probably
a secondary for them. So when we go and sell into brands, we always sell into their sales team or their marketing team, and it's always about the access to the younger customer. And then it's a circular, sustainable solution.
So that's just a benefit of doing it anyway.
Yeah. And I think that was also a challenge that I found with our previous business model with the universities, was that our income wasn't tied to the universities making income. Whereas with our new model now, we only make money when the brand makes money. And I think someone said that to me the other day, that they love models like that. Because
it's win-win.
Win-win.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a lesson that I'd take forward, would be trying to always have a model like that.
And what are the conversations with brands? How do they go in terms of, like, are they sold straight away on the idea? Because to me, it seems a bit of a no-brainer. Like, they've got dead stock. They need to sell it, and they need to access the student market, and it's sustainable.
I'd say a lot. Everyone always loves the idea. The challenge we had, with anything, it's like that. What's it called? The cold start problem. So no one kind of wanting to go first. So for us, that's been trying to build really great relationships with brands in different areas. So for example, O-Poly was our first ever brand. And you can imagine having O-Poly helps us then get this brand and this brand and this brand. So it's like us finding our O-Poly in different categories. So for example, this month we're working with Ed Hardy. And then that will then help us in the streetwear space. So it's like we've got, in the office, we've got like a graph that shows which brands we need to then get to these brands. So it's just trusting the process, not going for, like, being realistic about who we can work with at this stage. So I think, and also the brands are quite funny about, so if we work with, for example, if we work with one brand, another brand might be like, oh, we don't really align with that brand, so we don't want to work with you anymore. And that's a challenge at the moment because we don't have loads of brands. Like we've got 11 brand partners at the moment. But you can imagine in the future, that won't be a thing because it's well, you can't be picky about, we've got 200 brands on site. Care.
And how was it, you've realised that you need to employ people. How was that journey?
Yeah, that's been, I feel like it's like the best and the worst part of the job, isn't it? So the team that I've got at the moment is absolutely amazing. but I have like had to let go of quite a lot of people. And I think that in some cases that's just been down to the business pivoting.
Yeah.
And then the people that I needed for that model, unfortunately, they're not the right fit for this model anymore. So I think a lot of advice I got, which I probably ignored in the early days, was make sure that you get more generalists in the early days, particularly before you have product market fit.
Yeah.
Because the role just can change overnight.
Yeah.
So I think I have hired some people too soon, and then that's then ended in having to let them go, and that's like my fault really for doing that. And also, I remember getting some advice like that. Not everyone, like obviously you need like loads of different types of people, which I do agree with. But then I hired someone who I was like, oh, she's like, they're a bit different to everyone else in the team, and thought that maybe it brought up a different perception, but actually they were just like really negative, really. Like I tried to like think, oh, they're a bit different, but actually this weren't a good fit. Yeah. So I think also just kind of trusting your gut.
How have you found it letting people go?
Well, I feel like it's just always pretty horrible, isn't it? And one of my advisors, a guy called Richard, he's always said to me, if you ever don't find it hard to let someone go, then you're a psychopath. Yeah. So always feel shit about it because it is a shit thing. It impacts someone negatively. It's just about trying to do it in the right way. And I suppose knowing that often when you let someone go, it's for their benefit anyway. Yeah. That they clearly weren't right for the business. They weren't going to thrive in the business. So you're just kind of making that decision for them. Yeah. And often people that have ended up leaving, like that we've let go of, they have gone into completely different areas. And then you're like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Yeah, yeah. Like completely different. And you're like, you're so well suited to that. Yeah. It just wasn't right at HAZAAR.
How has it been learning all these new skills in such a short space of time? Like, you've gone from being a student to kind of a CEO and having to deal with investors, sales, letting people go, hiring people, finding culture. Like, how have you found that?
I think obviously really hard. But I think just my main thing is just making sure that I'm just myself throughout everything and just so honest. Like, just, like for example, I had a catch up with Richard the other day, one of my advisors, and I told him about this difficult investment meeting I had, and I said, he was like, so what was the next steps? And I said, oh, she told me to come back once I've sorted my shit out. And he went, no, what did she actually say? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So like, but that was my interpretation of what she said, which was right. Yeah. So I think basically just always just being myself, just being authentic and being like, I don't know, just honest. Like with the team, when I feel like when we made that pivot, I genuinely felt like I was trying to lead a team, but I didn't know anything about the new model. It was like leading the blind. Yeah. And I was really struggling with it, to be honest, because I just felt like, what the hell am I doing? And I suppose not being afraid to just be like, guys, like, just bear with me. Like, I'm finding this a bit tricky at the moment. So just leaning into it and being open. And also, I think when you're open and ask for help, so many people want to help. Yeah. Literally so many people. Like Sam and I went to a conference the other day, and there was this lad doing a talk, and he was absolutely incredible. We went and met him off the stage and said how amazing he was. And then he gave me an hour of his time yesterday just chatting to me about e-commerce and what he thought we should do with our paid ads. And now I've got his number. He was like, ring me anytime. Yeah. So it's just that people do actually want to help. So just really leaning into that support.
Yeah, I think I think when you want help, it's the last thing you want to ask for sometimes, like, because you feel like it's weakness or like you should know what you're doing. But actually, I think people really do want help. Yeah. And a lot of the time they'll just do it because they want to give back, I guess, or especially successful people. Yeah.
Definitely.
How important is, you've mentioned a few times, feedback. How important is that to you as a business owner and to your business?
Yeah, it's so key. I think like we work with quite a lot of like freelancers and stuff, and I always think if we're not asking people what they think, like, you know, sometimes someone new can join and you can be like, oh, this is how we do things, and then like they're like, oh right, okay, cool, but like, so what do you think? Like, how would you do it? Kind of thing. I always think I just always ask people for their thoughts and what they think we should be doing, and because it's just, that's how you learn, isn't it? And that's how you're going to grow. You could say that, you know how I said that the feedback I'd had from my team was that sometimes maybe I asked too many. So maybe I need to learn to get the balance a little bit more of holding firm, but also asking questions. But I think, feedback, absolutely key.
Is that something you've always done, or is that something you learn?
Yeah, I think so. I've always been like pretty self-aware and quite in tune, like emotionally intelligent. I think my mum, like growing up, I'm one of 4 kids, and my mum, our house was a B&B at home, so we just had people in the house constantly.
Right.
And my mum would always be like analysing everyone. Like we'd be on our way back from swimming lessons, and she'd be like, God, like, did you notice that? Like, so like, I've always just had a really good understanding of people, why they do things. And then that's also probably meant that I'm quite self-aware as well.
Yeah.
And
does that ever go too far and it become an issue?
Probably,
like,
yeah.
That you're overcritical of yourself?
Yeah. I'm overcritical of myself, but I'm also really critical of other people.
Right. So it's fair.
Yeah, but like, we did like a personality testing thing, and that was one of the main things that came out for me, was that I'm really self-critical. But then it means that I'm the same with other people. Like I want, particularly with the team, and I know you said that you've had Dan from Pure Sport on here, and I know he talks about like how business is like a football team.
Yeah.
And I think with the team, I'm constantly thinking about the positions of my team and like, okay, well, they're not quite performing well at the moment. What's going on there? Like really lean into it. And I've become obsessed about like, okay, I've noticed that they seem a bit like they're pulling back a little bit, like what's going on there. Or that wasn't that good. Like they spoke to that person a little bit funny, like what's going on there. So I think I'm just really analytical of things. But then it means that I'm trying to build like a top performing team.
Yeah.
So actually me being in tune with everything is so important. And me being aware of myself, I think, is also so important to that.
Yeah, and how do your team find that sort of being analytical?
I probably wouldn't. Obviously, I wouldn't act on me being analytical there and there.
Yeah.
So it's more like that's the internal dialogue, and then I then obviously go about it in a normal way. But it's more that like my brain's just always thinking about things like that. And we're all like a very open, honest team, I think. So it's like, I just feel like, is everything all right? Like, and we have like monthly check-ins where it's just, I feel like, I think it works quite well.
Yeah, I think like we probably only started doing like one-to-ones or asking for feedback 4 years ago. So my business is 13 years old. 4 years ago, and like the difference in, like I don't like the word culture, but like the culture of the business like has changed so much because we ask for feedback and we are more in tune with their performance. And I think something that I struggled with massively for probably years is I wanted it to be a family, and it's not a family. Like I want it to be a high performing team, and there's a really big difference in being a family and being a high performing team. So that was something I really struggled with. How would you say you are as a leader on performance? How does that look for your team?
I think so at the moment there's like six of us in the team. We know where we're going, and everyone knows their role as part of that. So I think we all help each other out. So for example, Sam, when he's doing sales, sometimes he'll bring the marketing team in if it's a big opportunity and we're speaking with a marketing person. So I think we do have a lot of shared goals, and everyone mucks in. Like if Sam, our sales guy, has got a bit of spare time, he'll go out on TikTok looking for ambassadors. And so I think we don't necessarily have like, this is your individual KPI, like this is what you're working on. Well, why is that not? Like we all are working together towards this shared goal, but everyone does know what their responsibility is in part of that. Like for example, post the launch, we did like a retrospective where everyone in the team, we focused on what went well, what didn't go well. And the main problem area that came out was that our brand offering let us down during launch.
Right.
And then obviously, so everyone's quite open. And then kind of, I suppose you could say that was like, well, me and Sam lead on the brand partnership. So that was both me and him like, fuck, sorry guys. Like we did actually we let the side down there. But then it's like moving forward from that and just like really pushing on to make sure that we sort that out. I don't know if that's answered your question, but I suppose I wouldn't say I'm super intense with goals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do make sure that like we have a high performing team. Everyone's working really hard. I'm making sure that everyone is shit hot. Like at the moment, I'm like, if everyone even needs to be driving, building the audience or bringing incredible brands on, anything that's not supporting that, done, get rid of it. So I think we are all really focused. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. How difficult has it been with your age? Like, I started my business when I was 27, and I think my age was I used to think it was like a massive issue. Does that ever play into your thoughts, or is it kind of a strength?
I'd say my age is a strength in the sense of leaning into getting help. I think everyone wants to help a student who's launched a business, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sam and I, when we go to conferences with brands, we're always the youngest people in the room. Again, people like that. We're selling a student offering to access students. We were recently students. We're really connected to the audience. It aligns well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the challenges are that just like learning on the job. But then I think even if you've worked in a business, then you've gone to have your own business, you obviously have a lot of experience, but you also don't have experience of that thing.
Yeah.
Of like actually having a business. So I think, it's just a lot of learning on the job. I never think that anyone doesn't take me seriously because of my age. It doesn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
Like I never think about that.
Yeah.
Ever really. Probably. It just doesn't cross my mind.
Yeah, I think you're right to have that belief. Think that as well. That the time that we're in, age is irrelevant when you're owning a business. There's so many young entrepreneurs now that it's a value, especially in the student space where or thinking from an investor's point of view, they'd want you to be as close to students and understand them as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
What has been your biggest challenge through it all, do you think?
Probably finding product market fit, just getting to a model that actually works. Really. So finding, we knew we wanted to do something in the student space. We knew it wanted to be circular economy focused. Obviously thinking, okay, student to student, buying and selling, that's not going to work. Launching it with universities, that's not going to work. With the brands, and then actually really figuring out what that model should be, like how much commission should we take, how should the whole thing be powered operationally, should we buy the stock and then sell it for the brands? Oh no, we don't want to do that because then we carry a lot of risk.
Yeah.
And then so just how to actually do it, like just I would say that the commercial business model is the hardest. Once we get that, like I'm quite good at like operations and the sales part. So once we know what we need to do, I'm good at making it happen. Yeah. But I struggle with the big picture stuff, which is quite, so I'm just jumping around a little bit. But I would say that, as you know how you said about like leadership and what's my leadership style, I actually sometimes really struggle on the big picture stuff. I've always needed someone by me so like, for example, a couple of years ago, I worked with a lady called Orla. Now I've got a girl called Natalie in the team. And they're both really good at seeing the big picture. Yeah. And sometimes I get so in the detail of like, not the detail of like reading documents and shit. I just mean like looking at tomorrow, looking at the next day, like, oh shit, that deal just fell over, fuck. Like, whereas they're like, no, Harry, we need to do this to this, and then this is where we're going to be. And so sometimes, I really struggle with the big picture stuff, which then makes me doubt my leadership ability sometimes, because I'm like, if I'm supposed to be telling the team where we're going, sometimes I lose sight of where we're going as well.
What do you do in them moments where you doubt yourself?
Depends really. Sometimes if I'm doubting myself, you can't really just try and push through it. But then obviously that can be also a bit, like for example, there was a period where we'd have our team meetings, and obviously usually like the CEO is supposed to like kick it off, like this is how we're doing, and I'd get like really like prangy before doing that, because I'd be thinking, oh fucking hell, I have no clue what to talk about. Like I have no, like, you know, when you're just in your head and then you're thinking, oh dear, everyone's looking at me, like I want the team, I'm creating a high performing team, I want everyone to be shit hot, and then I don't want them to look at me and think, what the hell is she going on about? Like she seems like she's all over the place. So I do think just pushing through. I think me leaning back, getting back into sales, having some recent success with the investment, getting more in marketing, like, you know, like knowledge is power. Like, so me just really feeling like I'm really delivering value to the team is really key to building that confidence.
Yeah, 100%. And what we spoke earlier before we came on about like what the perception is of owning a business or being a CEO. How have you found that kind of Instagram famous to how hard it actually is?
Yeah. So it's really funny. So when I first started HAZAAR, and you know how I said that everyone thought it was the best idea ever? I think I felt like the sickest. I think my ego went so big at that point. I was like, yeah, I got this business. Yeah, like been for students. Yes, we're doing really well. And then it just humbled me like mad. And then now I just think sometimes I just don't even think about anyone else's opinion, to be honest. Like in the sense of, if someone says to me like, oh, you're doing great, like, oh my God, you must be so proud of yourself. I'm like, I don't even think about anything like that. I'm just cracking on. Equally, sometimes if I thought about it, I would think my mates, people were probably like, fucking hell, you're still doing that thing. Like my friends said to me recently, like, oh, like, you'll be the most employable person, like, if it doesn't work out. I'm thinking, fucking hell, like, that's so rude. Yeah. Like
cheers for the confidence boost.
And like, one of my other mates said to me, like, are you still doing that thing, you know, that the clothes swap thing? I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing that thing.
How does that make you feel like when someone says that?
I just think that's what I mean about it being humbling.
Yeah.
I just don't care. Yeah. Like, obviously, maybe, I think I've just got past that now.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it's not glamorous at all. It's really fucking hard. And you just need to have so much resilience and self-confidence. And not self-confidence in the sense that obviously I've spoken about how you don't need to be self-confident all the time. Like, I've spoken about my own insecurities, but the self-confidence to just pick yourself up.
Just get back on the horse.
Yeah. As I said, like, my mum a few weeks ago came and she was saying to me, like, because the launch that we did, it went really well in terms of students, like, activity on site, but the sales just weren't really coming through. My mum was just like, oh, Harriet, like, are you sure you should keep doing this kind of thing? And obviously that's hard to hear, like, your mum saying that. But like, and it really did upset me for like that evening. And then the next morning I was like, you can decide how to deal with this, right? Yeah. And then I just like picked myself back up. And then actually ever since she had that really, really question, like that hard conversation with me, it's just been really great ever since. But that's because of just picking myself up. So I think that's what I mean about the self-confidence. You can't rely on your partner or your friends or your family to be like, oh, we believe in you. Like, you need to just, like, it needs to be from within. And you just need to not care about what other people think. Yeah,
I think it needs to be hard. It needs to be hard, or everyone would be doing it. Like, it's got to be hard. And I feel like the hardest periods of work are usually the most rewarding because you know you've done something difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I mentioned we're doing an investment raise at the moment. And a few weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go and speak at like a pitch event thing. And I went to pull out of it because I just thought, oh, it's not the right time. And then Natalie and my team was like, you're the only one that can get investment. Just go and do the pitch. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay.
Let's go.
Oh, no, got to do it. Anyway, I practiced like mad for this pitch, like went through all the numbers, got more confident than I've ever got before. I was practicing with my boyfriend, all my advisors, like went absolutely ham. I actually did.
Love that.
I was like, because I was just like, I've got to do it now. Yeah. You know, like I can't let the team down. And then did the pitch, went really well. People said, like, in some of the investors in the audience said that it was like the best pitch they'd ever heard. I don't know if they just said that, but I'll take that. And then the next day I had so much confidence from it, I then recorded a video of me doing a pitch, like an online video, sent it out to loads of people. The next day, got half of the full investment from someone. And it's like, so actually that, me hitting rock bottom of that pitch, where the day before I did that pitch, I was literally crying so much because I was just like, can't do it. It was going to shit. And then do the pitch, felt the best I've ever felt. Then you get the confidence and then that next thing happens. So I think it's just that, like, lifting, picking yourself up, cracking on even when you really don't want to. And then actually, like, you just create your own luck and opportunity.
And so the title of the podcast is Raise the Floor. What would your advice be for people who are just starting out and need to raise the floor?
I know you did give me a heads up on this question. I haven't actually thought about what I'd say. I'm not good at snippets of advice. Okay, just be accountable. Like, you're the only person that will make it happen. Don't blame anyone else. Like, I listened to a podcast recently where someone was talking about the failure of their business and how if they'd only had this person, it would have been successful. But like, no, like, you need to make it happen. It's all on you. So
go and do it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Appreciate you giving us the time to come on, and it's a great story. I think you're doing an amazing job, and it's mega inspirational. So,
well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.